Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 526. This is your guide to the geek side. And I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, living the dream. It was 50 degrees today. It's chilly, and it's a good day to hunker down and listen to a podcast. Done by us.
And it was 90 degrees here in Michigan, yesterday and the day before. It was but we also had storms. I don't know, did you guys get those storms in Minnesota? It was totally insane. Just
bad storms.
Overnight storms with lightning that went on for an hour. We got up and we're watching. It's like, there's a tornado, going to be a tornado. The news people were having a field day because it's kind of like their Freebird moment. You know, they get to stand up and
must have been the weather wizard, Charlie.
Yes, it was, or the not the mass device, the weather dominator, but of course, Pyramid of Darkness,
or both.
Any of those
team up.
Yeah, any of those other Cobra devices. Anyway, great show for you today. We are in the Thunderdome starting the Summer of Superman by talking about 1978's Christopher Reeve's Superman, a revolutionary film for its time that I think we're going to find still holds up in a lot of ways. But we will break that down for you along with news and all the other fun stuff. But as always, first part of the show, the homage, or I call it paying the bills. This is going to be our Patreon Secret Friend Squad. Awesome folks who get exclusive programs, early shows, no ads, Discord benefits for 7 days for free, 50% off your first month, and as little as $2 a month going forward. It is an entertainment bargain to which there is no end, like they've never seen before. Meh. These folks know what's going on. My buddy Derek Trevelyan, the figure dude, Francie, who recently gave my wife her curls back. She's a curl specialist here in Grand Rapids, but loves our Bad Movie podcast. Luke Lore, Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass, my awesome uncle Tim, who today he sent me a video of something that led me to an app, and I was like, I'll use my imagination, but I'm not downloading an app. That's something boomers do a lot. You know what I mean? Like, look at this link, and it tries to take you to Newsmax or something. Fortunately, that wasn't it with him. He's very liberal. But you know what I'm talking about.
FarmersOnly.com? What?
Oh, no. Oh, come on. Just because he lives out there in South Haven. Come on now.
I'm not making any judgments.
Friends with Benefits Level, John Sidorf, Brendan Myers, Corey HD, Matthew Keel, my buddy Kurt Krug, who I'll see tomorrow. April and I are running a trivia panel at Motor City Comic Con in Southeast Michigan. Kurt has been there all weekend. He lined up some great interviews coming up for us on Spotlight, which I'm totally psyched about. But we get a chance to hang out. He's even been picking up some comics for me off of my list, which I appreciate. Our friend Tanya Lee. Tanya has a son graduating high school this weekend. I saw her pictures on social media.
So good deal.
Congratulations. And new folks, Chipotle Bear, Famous Seamus, Cam the Movie Man, Jay Newport 007 with those Newport cigarettes like we talked about last week. And we arrive at our final new person who's going to get their SFU power this week. And we were talking about this in pre-roll, so we're going to try to keep it PG if possible. Prozac Man, a.k.a. Darth Prozac, who is also known as Brian Osserman. Todd, what is Darth Man doing with his special? What is the special power he's lighting up?
Okay, so Prozac Man, Darth Prozac, whatever you prefer to be called, Brian. I'm going to give you the special ability to never get tired. Holy cow. How much could you get done if you didn't start dozing off at a movie? You're watching TV, you're feeling a little groggy, you have to take a nap. Nope, never feels tired. He will need to sleep, though, because he may start going crazy, but he will never feel tired. So that's, to me, is so good, because I hate feeling tired, because I start feeling grumpy, and then I fall asleep, and it's not good.
That's like 2/3 of being a vampire without the vampire part. You just, because you don't age, you don't sleep. Well, gosh, I don't know what to do with him. I mean, Darth and Man and the other thing. So yes, I don't know. I think he has the ability, we're not talking about Prozac, but with any maintenance med, let's say you got high blood pressure like I do, or you got cholesterol, which runs in my family, no, or even if it's something else, maybe it's not covered by insurance, no copay ever. Anything. You go to that Meyer, Kroger, Pharmacy, Target. You go up there. I'm Brian Osterman. Bang, here's your medication. Come back and see us sometime. It's on us. I love it. Socialized medicine. I don't know. Somebody's
Exactly.
paying the bill. Yeah.
Exactly. Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
I love it. All right. And then ramping things up, as always, the wonderful Nias family out there in the Twin Cities. Sean, Stella, and Henry, we are grateful to them and to all of the folks who support us. Remember, if you'd like to get on board with the fun and get your own SFU superpower, for example, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Try us out, and I think you'll want to stick around. Speaking of sticking around, talking about well-placed, I would say costume tape, keeping this outfit on. In January of 1983, we're looking at issue 26 of Marvel's Dazzler. Now, it's funny. I read an issue of this after one of the recent interviews we do, and now it's blurring in my mind. It was either Bob Budiansky, who we know was responsible for the Transformers, or it was Danny Fingeroth, who I spoke to recently, who was a big Spider-Man editor. But I feel
Danny wrote this.
Yeah, Danny wrote this. There you go. I think so. I read the first issue, and no disrespect to Danny because he was a lovely man. We had a great conversation. Was not engaged so much by the first issue that I would have continued to read. But that title did run for a few years, because I know in the mid 80s, Dazzler, well, just a couple years after this, Dazzler became a part of the X-Men. She was part of that Magneto-led team in like the middle 80s and right around issue 200, 210, I think. But yeah, she's looking quite, in her outfit here on this cover. But beginning the startling secret of Dazzler's sister. And then we see a woman dressed in what definitely looks like an Izod kind of t-shirt with pop collar. Reminds me of my hometown of Grosse Pointe, Michigan. Choking some dude in an orange suit. And there's like a light around her hand, so maybe she's like electrocuting him. But Dazzler is just behind her, kind of with her hands on her chest, kind of like, yeah. Just a very weird image. What is the and is that Joe Jusko, who's the artist? Because I'm looking at
No, it was Frank Springer.
Oh, okay. I see. It looks like there's a little tiny signature at the bottom of it, like under the image, just under the guy she's killing. But yeah, I remember Frank Springer. He was the guy who did some G.I. Joe. I think he did some Transformers as well. I remember the name. But anyway, what is going on in this story? I know you got to. Well,
apparently, that's the hard part. I'm trying to read the synopsis here. Apparently, Dazzler's has a sister. Her name is Lois. She ends up being hassled by a homeless man who attempts her. During the tussle, Lois manifests a mutant light power and burns the man's face. The fear of the attack inspired caused the homeless man to die of a heart attack. And then Lois flees. So apparently she has powers just like her sister. So now Dazzler has to help her, but she ultimately did kill a dude, so that's not good, like by causes. So that's kind of the thing about this book. So the interesting thing about Dazzler, though, she was created to basically be a pop phenomenon by I think it was Jim Shooter who pitched it. He said basically, we're going to make Dazzler like a singer, and we're going to make albums and have a big to-do, and that fell apart, but then they still decided to go ahead and go with the character. And she's become a big part of the X-Men. She's a mutant. And I mean, she changed her outfit. She doesn't have the disco outfit anymore because it doesn't really work anymore. But yeah, I mean, but it is interesting in this book, Charlie, the antagonists, Henry Gyrich, mutant hunters, Bonzo. And then other characters are Slimy. Claw is in this. He's just referenced, apparently. So is Senator Robert Kelly. Oh,
so some real heavy, because Gyrich was the NSA guy who was in charge of the Avengers and
National Security Council. Yeah,
really screwed things up for them as well. And in the X-Men 2000 movie, he was the guy who, off camera, he got killed by Sabretooth and said, "Oh, they found Gyrich's body. It looks like he got mauled by a bear or something." So he does have some film portrayal, but at any rate, I got to tell you, in my nightmares, if this would be one, I think our senior news correspondent would be wearing this outfit, and I don't want to see it. That's bad stuff, because but the good news is what she doesn't bring to the table in wearing Dazzler style outfits, who, by the way, weren't her powers just making disco like lights? She was like
lights,
like, it was
kind of like Jubilee.
It wasn't really an offensive power. She didn't really do like she wasn't like, all right.
I'm assuming she could concentrate the lights to make some type of like beam, maybe.
Like it's not like the Sentinels are coming. You're like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, disco ball dancing power. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic. But at any rate, what Madam Web doesn't bring to the table in fineware, she does bring to the table in her news acumen. She's down, as always, at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, waiting for us with the latest news and scoops. Let's go for it.
Now it's time for Madam Web's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Web. Here we are. It is that time of the year when we're going to have Memorial Day weekend coming up. And Madam Web, unfortunately, you have to remember a lot of people because I think everybody you were friends with has passed along. And I think you are now the world's oldest woman.
Oh my goodness. She's getting up there. 125 that's higher than most numbers I've seen. Memorial Day, the only weekend that I'll consent to spend the weekend at my in-laws' house. But I always bring my tablet, which means I'll get a lot of reading done. All right. So we had a little, you dropped one of the trailers, which is good because I'm like, well, I didn't see the first one of these movies, so I'm fine with that. Is it Nobodies or Nobody?
You would really like Nobody, but I could understand. That's why I did include it because I if you haven't seen the first one, I'm not sure if you would see the second one. But it's a great premise, very fun. Yeah. Bob Odenkirk is great.
Yeah. All right. Well, we dropped that one, but we did get a trailer for this summer. So I'm thinking this is coming out next month. Of Ironheart. Now, this was a character introduced, and of course, every character is controversial. I don't find her very controversial at all. But she played a major role in Wakanda Forever, which was the second Black Panther film, and she is the modern day female Tony Stark-ish kind of character, built her own armor in that, and then this appears to be kind of a continuation of that plot line. So she's back. She's a student at Princeton or Harvard. I'm trying to remember.
MIT.
I would say that would have been
engineering.
Yeah, you're right, because we do get a return of Jim Rash, Todd, your doppelganger, who is a faculty staff member. Or
he is not the dean. He's not the dean at MIT, apparently, just a teacher this time.
Just a teacher, right, because he did interact with Tony Stark at the beginning of Captain America Civil War when Stark was doing his presentation. The self-cooking hot dog, that was his invention that he wanted money for. I wonder if that ever worked out.
Don't know.
But yeah, we're seeing a setup to, and this is a 6 or 8 episode series, I'm guessing. And again, I'm just kind of riffing off the top of my head, where we have a villain slashed cohort is the Hood, which is a character that got a figure about a year or so ago. And Todd, I feel like this was something you found and shared probably on our Discord, where it's just a guy. And his face is just his mouth and his eyes are, he's just screaming. He's going, and that's the figure. Do you remember? And then he has a hood, but he's wearing like jeans or something. So yeah, I don't know the character, but he's being played by an actor whose name is escaping me, but he's been in a lot of stuff, including the most recent Transformers.
He is Anthony Ramos. He was in the last Transformers film.
Yep.
The Beast movie. And then I like him. He's a good actor.
Me too.
I like Dominique Thorne playing the part in this. And essentially, this is a follow-up where she's in MIT. She wants to do some really great, make some great iconic ideas. She just doesn't have any money. So apparently she falls in league with with Anthony Ramos. Yeah. And she's going to see them. He basically sets up a trap to see if she can escape an elevator that is going to fill with gas and she's going to die. So she does the MacGyvering to get out of it, which is pretty good. She gets out and he says, basically, let's make some money together by doing some crimes. And she's like, cool. Crimes are cool.
And then he has this speech. He's like, hey, nobody who ever got ahead in life didn't do some crook shit. And that's basically his pitch. So I got to be honest with you. I don't know how fired up I am for this show. I don't know that it's made for me. Todd, I don't know. How did you feel watching it? I wouldn't say
I liked it. I liked it from what I saw, because it looks like it should be fun. It's going to be on a MCU TV budget. Yep. The Red Hood, not the Red Hood.
Just
the hood has magical powers based on the hood, and you see on his back he's got like some tattoos that are malforming. So we do know where this is going to go. She's going to have to build a suit, which she'll make money with. She'll probably find the error ways, find some way to basically. Atone for the bad thing she did, and then she has to take out the hood, which we'll see where this goes. I don't know if this is going to be a vestige of when Marvel was just putting out a ton of stuff. I think this was done quite a while ago.
It is kind of a leftover because we do know, and it really over in Star Wars, kind of the same thing. They've kind of run their, like for Star Wars, for example, the only live action thing they have coming up is Ahsoka season 2. Nothing else has been announced. So for Marvel, what other live action? The Vision is currently filming over in the UK because I see posts from Todd Stashwick, who is going to be on the show. And I feel like if there's another live action show they've got coming up, that and Daredevil season 2. But I don't feel, but those were all, I mean, Daredevil came out. The Vision was announced a long time ago. I'm not thinking of anything, and this was announced a very long time ago. I'm not thinking of anything live action that they've announced that's on the horizon. So it seems like maybe they're finally starting to shift back to the movies, which is what a lot of people really like. I don't know. What do you think? Am I forgetting something? Live action?
Yeah, I mean, what did they keep the Vision? Is it still Vision Quest or is it Vision?
I mean, I don't think it really matters. It's what someone portrayed as the third act of a trilogy of shows, being WandaVision, then Agatha, now this. So this is almost like the end of the trilogy.
Got it. And then Wonder Man is in December.
Yes.
And
I forget about that
and then Daredevil season 2. Yeah. After that, I'm not aware of anything else that's out there. We're probably missing something. We are going to be getting more animated stuff with Marvel Zombies,
Wakanda, something or other. Yeah.
Yep. And then I think we're also then going to, obviously we're going to get another season of X-Men 97, another season of the Spider-Man show, which I really like. Freshman year will probably be called sophomore year, I guess, when it comes back. Maybe.
Could be summer school. I don't know. Who knows? So yeah, but again, is this the signaling? And again, I look at this and I find it as kind of predictable as you described. She hooks up with this guy for the right reasons or the not right reasons. He seems kind of crook, but then he gets really crook, and then she has to build a new set of armor. I don't remember what happened to her old armor. Was it destroyed or the Wakandans took it back? I don't remember.
I'm guessing it was, or they didn't let her keep. No, they didn't let her keep it because she's only a kid. Yeah.
So I will watch it, and I would love to be surprised that it'll have some cool surprises. But it sounds very paint by numbers to me. But we'll see.
It's all how well the script goes.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't imagine there'll be a ton of special effects just because the budget would balloon, and that would be pretty hard for TV. Although that was probably during the era they were just spending money hand over fist.
Right.
So maybe it does have a lot of good special effects. Maybe it works. What I saw looked pretty good though.
Yeah.
So I mean, we are getting that Punisher one shot. We are getting that.
Yes.
Or at least that was another thing.
Yeah. I love, and that sounds like it would be done on a budget. It's all very practical and stuff. But one shots are great. I remember how much I love the Werewolf by Night thing, and so But if they're shifting more their focus back to the movies, we've got obviously the Avengers 2 film thing that's coming up, Fantastic Four is coming out, and all this kind of good stuff. So we shall see. That's out next month.
June 24th, end of June. Yeah. So I mean, at this point, and then Andor's done.
Yep.
So I guess this gets them through to the summer. That's their summer show, and then the fall. I mean, I guess we'll see what's coming up after that.
I don't know. All right. Well, people want to call AI evil, and maybe for a lot of people it is, but it has given us back. And again, Mark plays this game and it looks fabulous. Do you play it on your phone? I don't really know that much about it. Or is it
it was removed from the Apple store just because of all the Apple building stuff. They tried.
Okay.
Long story, but yes, you can play it on your phone, on other things. It's probably going to be brought on the Apple Store, but it's mainly on majority of where I'd say where people play it on consoles and PC, but it is on mobile as well.
Very good. Well, we're talking about Fortnite, or Fork Knife, as I like to call it, just based on a meme I saw once. But they have brought back James Earl Jones, Darth Vader, to voice the character and players are already making him swear. Is that something in that game that you type something in and that's what the person says? Is that how that works?
This is new. This is a brand new thing where you can actually, they have a AI powered character where you can talk with him, and it is interesting. And we know James Earl Jones made that deal to have like basically, I don't know if he just sat there and goes,
he sold his likeness rights and they said, use my voice for whatever and give me some money.
and I don't know how it works if he just went and just said a lot of lines and then they could like splice it up and do whatever, or how it worked. But they do have a bank of things and can get him to say things based on the AI language model. Yeah. And yes, it was essentially, people have already tried to make Vader do really bad things. So they have to edit it and take some things away. The one thing, Charlie, I want to see if people do ask him are tips on fatherhood. And then tips on being a great husband.
Him and Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's staggering to me that Bill Cosby had a book called Parenthood and a book called Fatherhood back in the 80s. And then,
Oh, yeah, he was huge. He was America's dad, eating the pudding pops and Kodak disc. Kodak. I think he did Kodak commercials.
He sure did.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah. I am so sure that some of those advertisements were probably in our store when I was growing up because my dad sold products. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So yeah. I mean, Fortnite is obviously huge, and like I said, Mark talks about it from time to time, so I'm sure he is loving the hell out of this. Hey, you guys will probably be talking about this more on Code, maybe, and then I'm sure it'll come up when we record Holocron.
There are some videos in here, Charlie, if you go down the article, basically, and then people have been taking like scripting and having to do stuff. So, the link is there, so if you want to check out hearing Darth Vader swear, that'd be pretty good. Because James Earl Jones, I'm sure he was a big swear. I'm sure he loved it.
In his grave, I don't know. Yeah. Well, he's from Detroit, or he grew up in Detroit. Yeah, I think he's from down south. But
that explains it. But I mean, we're probably going to see more and more of this. We're just going to see people. They're like, well, rather than someone steal it, I might as well make money. It's kind of like, I'll sell my catalog when I get to a certain age because I'm at a point where I can't do that. I know Bruce Willis did that too. I think he sold. Yeah. I think he sold the rights because he's like, I'm going downhill. I might as well make some money off of this, and maybe people can use me in other things. So, what we don't want is obviously, remember what was that one really bad commercial? It was a Diet Coke where they had all the celebrities that were dead and they used them. Yeah. Hologram Tupac, all those things. Yeah.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Hologram Tupac. Yeah. I mean, I think it, and again, I'm sure entertainment professionals would have lots of different opinions about this, but, as long as, if you can preserve yourself, continue to appear, and it's authorized by your estate and people in your estate, your family ostensibly are profiting from it, and that is your wishes. Absolutely. What scares all of us about AI is the thing that was a very big issue during the strikes back in 2023 is that they scan your face and then they use it in perpetuity and you never see another nickel. That is not okay. That is just,
it's like all the contracts. Yeah. All the contracts that they're trying to settle. Yeah. AI has been the biggest thing. Right now, the video game voice actors are going through this right now. They're trying to settle a deal. So so that's why these contracts are been taking so much longer to get done, just because that is such a new source, just like streaming. They never figured it. Streaming wasn't a thing back in the old days with contracts. So now that it is a thing, how do you make money when they don't even share like numbers? Like they say they share minutes, but they don't share like how many people are watching us and ratings. And it's crazy. Yeah,
it's a whole new ball game. So, and as we know, it's funny. It came up in conversation with Jonathan Frakes when he, we interviewed him for the show not that long ago. And we were, just as a reminder, we were staunch supporters of the strikes. We contributed to the entertainment fund, and it's something that we believe in very strongly. So I will be sure to mention that again to Mr. Frakes when I see him on the cruise, if it comes up. All right, heading into this next story, let's see. You got a bunch of stuff going against it. It's a video game story, John Wick filmmaker, but Ron Moore, right? Isn't this Ron Moore's new project?
No, this is not. Ron Moore has nothing to do with this. So nothing. But so this basically Gears of War has been
what's the Ron Moore one? Is that God X or something?
That's God of War. So Gears of War, God of War. You're close.
Okay.
GOW. Yep. So apparently David Leitch, who has directed John Wick films, he is going to be making the Gears of War movie for Netflix. David Leitch also did The Fall Guy, which I really like that movie.
Oh, yes, totally.
So Gears of War is basically a story about these soldiers called cogs. Can't remember what it stands for. Somebody's probably going to kill me and tell me, but they're cogs like gears in the war. Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a very fun game, but basically there's the Earth. There's an emergence day where creatures that have been lived in the Earth emerge from the core and then just try to destroy the world. It's called the Locust.
Isn't that just Pacific Rim? Wasn't that what that movie
pretty
was
much?
all about?
Yeah, it's very much But this has been around since the early 2000s. But basically, you've got big old dudes just trying to take down the Locust and take them down and save the day. And it's very much like. Think about like the Arnold Schwarzenegger, like Predator, Commando type of vibe taking on aliens. So it's a lot like that. Very fun, over the top. Yeah. It does have some drama on it, with death and people dying and things like that. But
death and drama.
But yes, but Dave Bautista wants to be the main character, Marcus Phoenix. He's the guy you see squatting there. Obviously, he's a big dude.
Marcus Phoenix.
Yeah, Dave Bautista is a big dude as well, but it's essentially they have to take out the Locust, and the series is still going. It's just at a pause right now where they're doing a prequel called E-Day, which is Emergence Day, which is all about the day this emerged and went through. So think of like what's the movie where we had the Quiet Place Day One?
Oh, that was it.
Yeah,
I don't know what you were looking for. That was the name of the movie.
Yeah, that was the name of the movie. Okay, very great. It's just going to be like, so that's where they're at in the series, where now they're going to go like, hey, this is how it all broke out and hell broke loose and they had to do it. So this could be a lot of fun, although it's on Netflix. So we'll see how this goes. Their history with movies are not very good. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't even know what the best rated Netflix film is.
Original film. I mean, they're bitter enough for their TV stuff. So yeah, I don't know I don't know which one of them we have, but when's that coming out? I already closed the window.
No, there is no release date. If he is just signed, the script is going to be written by Dune scribe John Space. So that's a good sign. Of course, Dune is a little bit different than Gears of War. So it could be great. It could be great. We've been getting so much better video game movies and TV than we have in the past. So we'll take it, but it's, not exactly like making a Mario movie where it's just funny, goofy, and fun.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, we're moving on to a 1-2 punch here with news from Star Trek, which of course we'll talk about a little bit more on Code 47 when the next episode of that comes out. But, animation, it's weird when it comes to Star Trek. Star Wars, for example, has had a string of success since the, late aughts when the Clone Wars came out, and that spawned other shows, and they continue to put out shorts every May the 4th. They have the Tales of the something or other. Most recent one was Tales of the Underworld. But Todd's not a fan of Star Wars animation. But Todd, did you finally end up seeing any more of Star Trek Prodigy? I'm trying to remember where we landed with you with that.
Not really. Too much to watch, and this one was probably not for me. I mean, I'm sure it grows and is better. It gets better if you watch more of it. I didn't hear it was bad at all. I've heard good things about it.
It's very twisty-turny, kind of timey-wimey. The whole plot line has to do with a bit of time travel and then the butterfly effect, trying to set something straight again. But it centers around a cast of Delta Quadrant, which is where Voyager took place. So this is really a spiritual sequel to Voyager, and actually not only a holographic version of Kate Mulgrew's Janeway appears as part of the ship that they fly, which is called the Protostar, but Kate does return to reprise the role of the character proper, as does Robert Beltran as Chakotay, and etc. And Wesley Crusher, Will Wheaton also plays a big role because he is a time traveler. Well, this show cannot get any luck. It was dumped by Paramount Plus back during the strikes as a tax write-off. Netflix picked it up and aired the then completed second season. This would have been in 2024. Yeah, it was last July. They dropped all 20 episodes on the 1st of July. So if you listen to our show, Code 47, we spent like 6 months talking about it because we wanted to give each one its due. Wonderful show. I've not bumped into anybody who didn't like it, but now it's looking like Netflix is about to send it into the final frontier. And that means potentially it's out there looking for a new home. I went ahead and purchased it, which I did digitally. And I know Peter owns the discs, which is great. So I'll tell you, if you're listening to me, this is going to be happening, I believe, by the end of 2025. So if you like the show and don't want to lose it forever, now's the time to pony up some dollars. But I would love to know why this show, can't live. The show ended on with not a cliffhanger, but a nice open door to continue the story of these kids. And yeah, I just don't know why they can't make it work. I mean, what do you think? I mean, what's your overall impression? I know you've not seen much more of the show, but why can't it happen?
I'll be honest. If this is more of a tilted towards kids, Star Trek and kids are not a natural thing.
Right.
The majority of us didn't have Star Trek, except if you're watching the old reruns. Right. I mean, I know kids that are older now, there's been more Trek, but the Trek has always had some gaps. And when you got gaps, you don't always have kids watching it with their parents. And Trek has always leaned older too, just for their storylines. It's not goofy. You don't have goofy Ewoks.
Science fiction versus science. Fantasy was never really geared towards kids. There was, of course, an animated series in the early 70s, which was the only way they could try it. Once they realized that Star Trek after it got canceled was a huge hit because there was a change in how they viewed ratings, and they found out that it was one of the biggest programs NBC had ever had, but it was too late to go back into production. So they did this animated bit. They got almost all of the actors back, and they made a season and a half. And we're actually talking about, because our random episode in our next episode of Code 47 is an episode of the animated series. It's very silly. It's very Filmation. It's like He-Man. It's like He-Man does Star Trek. That's what Star Trek, the original animated series, was.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And in the 2020s, we've had Lower Decks, which I've never met anybody who didn't enjoy it, except for Todd. But I know you said might give it some consideration, but again, too much stuff.
Do they do a lot less screaming?
A lot less. I think it's probably very situationally dependent, but
okay. It's just such a loud show. I like. It's so not Star Trek because they're just so like boisterous and like it's a lot.
It's funny you mentioned loud because I've had Key and Peele on in the background on the TV in my office when I'm working, and I was watching one sketch and on the other side of my wall is April working away. She's on a meter or something, and it was a scene where one of the two of them has like a head harness on and he's bending over trying to take a drink and he keeps screaming, and I'm like turning the volume down. I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I don't love screaming in a show either, so I got you there.
Yeah,
but
but I mean, Lower Deck is more of that adult comedy, so that makes more sense why it works. Yeah. So I just don't think Star Trek is ever going to be a franchise that is going to attract a younger group. I think you have to be at a certain age. You got to stay in your lane. Understand those concepts and what it does. So it's a shame because this was their try to really bring in a younger audience, and they said it has high ratings. I'm just wondering, are kids watching it? Or is it really adults fans?
Yeah, because the overall thought was, okay, well, if it's on Netflix, it's one of those you turn, and if we dump it all at once, you can get in there, you can binge it. And what really made Star Trek popular in the 70s was, of course, syndication of the old show. So it's on after the 5 o'clock news every day, and people sat down and watched it together. And that's what gave the franchise the life that it still has to this day. But yeah, it's a bummer. Ellie Littlechild, who is our collaborator, who's been on the show several times with the Trek culture. This is her main show that she loves.
So
I'm sure this is really, really terrible news for her. She's a big Voyager and Prodigy fan, so I feel bad for you, Ellie. Hopefully there will be a life for this someday, but you never know. All things are eternal in Trek.
I got the game though. I did buy the game for some reason.
Me too. Yeah. I ended up getting that from one of your cohorts sent me a code, so we played the game a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, moving on to second bit of news. I know I said Trek minute, but it's been a lot of minutes. The thing I've been bitching about for about a year is finally happening.
If I bitch enough, it will happen.
I did.
Wait, can we say that on YouTube?
I willed it into existence. I think I don't think they take it for context, so I guess we'll find out.
Okay.
But anyway, Strange New Worlds, which is now the only Star Trek show, with the exception of Star Trek Starfleet Academy, which, according to Jonathan Frakes when we spoke to him, is in the can,
Nice.
and will be released in 2026. But the third season of this show, the fourth season currently being in production, so they know that it will go on, which was completed a very, very long time ago because we saw an extended look last fall, is going to be joining us over on Paramount Plus on July 17th, running through beginning of September. So this is very exciting. Todd, you're joining us first part of next month to do a voyage so far, to talk about seasons 1 and 2. And then Peter and I will very eagerly jump into talking about this as the only Star Trek that we have on the horizon. But a lot of extended clips have been released. Obviously, if you haven't seen season 2, it is wrapping up a cliffhanger, which one is going to assume will happen in the first episode. And we've seen a teaser trailer that came out several months ago. That looks very fun. You know, we're going to have a holodeck style mystery where everybody appears to be from the 70s. And then you get like a Black Mirror style spoof where it looks like they're on the old Enterprise bridge. We're getting the return of Paul Wesley as the young Lieutenant Kirk, which people bitch about, but I actually really enjoyed his role. It actually added some depth to the James T. Kirk character.
Oh, yeah.
That you didn't even really think was possible at this stage of development. And he does a great job playing it. And then there was, of course, and it was funny, this was released as a follow-up to the promo video that was Strange New Worlds plus SpongeBob. I assume you saw it at some point.
Yes, I did.
You know, they released a blooper reel. I will admit I've not watched this, but I will have to before I talk about it on Code 47. I'm sure it's adorable. So that's good. That's the synergy of Viacom Paramount. So Todd, what are your top like 2 or 3 expectations of this teaser that you've seen? What do you think is going to go down? A teaser of what you're going to talk about on my show.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting because the show has done a lot with the cast, which I really like. Everybody's had a little bit of time to shine, which has been very good. Yeah. Which is what I think some other shows and with Star Trek have missed. Sometimes been too focused on one person and their social drama and their drama or whatever. Now I feel like everybody can have a little bit of drama on the show, and it works. Right. And I like that they'll touch on things that, maybe, we from the past that are cool that you can make much better now. Because, I mean, it was just kind of like Discovery did some things that I hope maybe we see come back. Harry Mudd was so fantastic in Discovery. I want Harry Mudd to be on Strange New Worlds, right?
Yeah.
Bring him on.
Yeah. They took him as a character who was very silly in his 2 appearances on the original series. And then they turned him into a much more kind of maniacal character portrayed by Ray Wilson, which was of the things on Discovery that worked, which myself and Peter in particular don't necessarily love that show, but I know that a lot of people do. And that's the beauty of a franchise like Star Trek, is that particularly in this kind of second modern era with so many different takes on it, it's a little bit of something for everybody. One of those things was an animated program, which didn't take off, but then there was one that did and earned a lot of fans. And then you had legacy content and you had prequel content, and then you had prequel content that turned into, future content, which is now what the Academy show is going to be. So Star Trek will go on. It'll be something to somebody. But yeah, excited to have this come back. And again, we'll be covering it. Generally, I was looking at the schedule. I think we'll have a solo to cover the first episode, and then subsequent weeks will be 2 episodes. And I think the 10th episode will do just that. And then what do you want to see next season? And maybe we'll have you back for that.
And they're going to keep it 1 episode drops at a time, right?
Yes, they always have.
Okay.
They always have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's good stuff. But because our show's just on every other week.
So I can't I don't want to get too far behind.
No, not at all.
Like Andor dropping these episodes, and I'm like, my God, so much.
And I'm expecting I'll get a screener before that. But so I will have seen. But sometimes they'll dump a portion of that, or they'll dump all of it. So we shall see. But anyway, that is the news. So it's time to get on down to the Geekies. Todd, you're at your local comic shop right now, so we both got to get an Uber. But the good news is your shop is right next to my shop, so we can share an Uber. So it pulls up. It's a big, fancy. Todd, it looks just like your car. They're going to cram us in the back of the little electric Mustang here. Let's do it. It's a fancy car, but it's still got an AM radio playing this very familiar advertisement.
Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencaster. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencaster is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencaster because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencaster has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencaster? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencaster. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencaster's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencaster's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to Zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover band's playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on this week. Well, I'll tell you, my wife has had surgery, so I need to find things to do while I'm waiting at the doctor's when she's getting that done. So between like watching some things on tablet, and then I decided to read some real floppy books I've been getting from the local library. So I have 3 this week. Yeah. Local comic tree, I guess, store.
Ooh, that would be a great name for a comic shop. The local comic tree, because paper comes from trees. There, got it. Boom.
Maybe not so much. Well,
maybe.
Hey, as long as you appreciate it. So I've got 3 books. The first one is Green Lantern, or Absolute Green Lantern #1. Absolutely. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see I held it up. This was a really cool story. Interesting mix where you've got characters all kind of messed up in regards to. We've got all the people that you think of when you think of Green Lantern, like Hal Jordan. You think of Jessica Cruz, who has been another Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, and I'm trying to think of the other person that was in this book.
John Stewart.
John Stewart. Yes. And it opens up quite differently because all of a sudden this huge Green Lantern lands in the town. Yes, I mean, just crashes.
We didn't land on Green Lantern. Green Lantern landed on us.
Yeah, I mean, and it just like, holy crap, that's crazy. Well, when this happened, it essentially trapped everybody in the Green Lantern in this town. Like they were trapped in it. They couldn't get out.
It's like the Dome, or like in the Simpsons movie, right? Which was also a dome.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a twist in this. So the Green Lantern ends up warping people in certain ways. Like Hal Jordan, I don't want to give too much away because it's kind of cool. He gets warped in a way that really twists his role in the Green Lantern mythology. Then you get Jessica Cruz, who also then gets kind of screwed around in the Green Lantern mythos. And then we have Abin Sur, who gets brought in as well in a different way. And I really like it. I think it's cool. The art's really good. And I like that they're doing something different with it. And it just seems pretty neat. So that is Absolute Green Lantern #1. Then I had a book I got with my Marvel Unlimited subscription.
Oh, yeah.
Wolverine Revenge. This book is
waiting on that myself.
I had not heard of it before, but it's essentially Wolverine gets brought in to do a mission, and it's with like you've got Nick Fury leading a group of people, and then Wolverine gets brought in along with Cap and Winter Soldier, and along the way, basically they need to get this device from Mastermind. And to get that device, they have to invade a foreign land, and along the way, bad things happen. Essentially, people get taken down. Like Maria Hill loses her head, gets killed.
Easy now. I'll be getting it soon
too.
Okay. My box should be in the mail because mine just renewed within the next couple of weeks. So yeah, now I know that head news. Oh no, was this?
Well, yes.
This was an exclusive, probably variant to something that was published elsewhere. Okay. Well, then,
so essentially, and then we find out there's this bad group of folks who unsuccessfully try to kill Wolverine, is all I'll say, and hell's going to break loose. So I really thought it was good. Art's great. Very, very good book. And I believe this one was written by, Jonathan Hickman, who I always like, and Greg Capullo, who Batman artist and also well known for doing Spawn for very many years. So really cool book. Check out Wolverine Revenge. And then Immortal Thor number 22. Right. I got this book because of the cover, because I've not been keeping up with Thor lately. And this book, it's basically Thor and Curse are teamed up. They're trying to escape an area, and it was kind of confusing to me because I really didn't know what was happening. They keep trying to escape, and then that's about it. I can't really tell you more about it. It was really confusing. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what else to do. I mean, am I going to keep reading this? Probably not. Yeah. But yeah.
I mean, all of those, because I have about 8 of those, because it was, I talked about it. It was the gatefold ones that I have them framed, but obviously just one side of them, because if I bought 2 copies of every one and framed them back to back, then I could have the whole thing. But that is, I think they did 14 of them. So that's 30 at $5 each. So do that math and see if that makes sense to you. So I chose selected ones, but I did pick that one because it has, Ben Grimm, the Thing on it, which is one of my very favorite characters. So I got that one too. And we were talking about it in the pre-roll. Marvel does this very weird thing where certain issues, and they've been doing this for years, have a digital code that you punch in the digital code at marvel.com/redeem, and it adds itself to your account. Now, Marvel is now streamed down to just being Marvel Unlimited. So there's not 2 apps or Kindle or whatever. But some of them, like this one that we're talking about, you have to, and I had this with 3 of them that I got, you have to take a picture of the cover, go to a thing, enter your info, email them, and then a day or so later you get a code email back. It's like, why I will have to have somebody explain
because they want to make it as difficult as possible because they're like, we're going to stop doing this because due to lack of interest in this, like, no, you just made it so damn hard. People are like, I give up.
You're driving people back to, but otherwise somebody could just, but like I buy a lot of the digital comics newer stuff that I just buy online anyway. But I thought, well, I'll give this a try. So I do have this. I did do that because I thought, well, why the hell not? So the issue is sitting in my Marvel Unlimited library. I just haven't gotten to it yet. And by the signs of it, doesn't sound like I should waste my time because it doesn't make any sense by the way you're describing it. So,
and you're probably not reading the book anyways. You just want it for the cover.
Exactly. Yeah. So who's to say? So, all right. Well, I was reading comics too. I do this, I read over lunch. If I'm out and about, I will sometimes carve out some time to read before bed. But if in my office, I want to take a little break, I might read a little bit. So anyway, I'm squeezing in reading here and there. And of course, I'll get lots of it in over Memorial Day weekend being up in my in-laws' place. But a series that I had in my queue for a very long time but never dug into was a miniseries from last year called and I brought up the page because I wanted to get the creators right. Spider-Man, Black Suit, and Blood. And I was like, first of all, Spider-Man in the black suit
doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, I know. Spider-Man in the black suit is my Spider-Man because that's what Spider-Man was wearing when I became a regular reader in the late 80s, 86, 87. But he was wearing the cloth version of them. The symbiote was long gone because that happened in 84, 85 when, it was found out that the symbiote was trying to kill him. Well, this series, and again, we have a cross-section of creators. We've got David Michelini. We've got J.M. DeMatteis,
DeMatteis,
or Wally Lombago, as you
Yes.
and I know him, did some of the writing here. But this is a series. It's a series of stories, 3 or 4 each issue, of Spider-Man's untold adventures when he was. They made it sound like it was more when he was part of the symbiote, but each one of these were Spider-Man kind of unconsciously being driven to commit violence by the symbiote, like it losing control, and he beats the crap out of the Shocker at one point, where ordinarily Spidey would just web him up and leave a little note and fly away. That always confused me. How did Spidey have pencil and paper to say your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Like didn't have pockets. I never got that part of it. It was
couldn't just web it. No, I guess you're webbing.
Yeah, write it on the wall.
Yeah.
But this was some good writing. Ultimately, it didn't really form a cohesive story because it was just these little shorts. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and it kind of underscored everything that led us to the character of Venom. One of them was you would like this. It was a Secret Wars homage with a character that joined them. It was kind of like Sentry. It was a character called I think he was Dr. Blood, and he was one of the villains who went along on Secret Wars, and he was going to acquire the symbiote, and then he was erased from time by Kang, who was part of that group until Doom zapped him like very early on in Secret Wars, if you remember. So I thought that
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
no.
I thought that was kind of weird. So I enjoyed that. That's of course available on Marvel Unlimited or in what I'm assuming is a trade paperback at your local comic shop. The second thing I read, I had a coworker when this was out back in 2011 tell me about this, and I'm like, I really got to finally tune in on this. And I probably had Marvel Unlimited at the time, but that was 15 years ago, and I never picked it up until I was doing my regular Google whatever, and one of the covers of this came up. And then I brought up this 5-issue limited series. I brought up the other covers, and I'm like, I want to find these so I can frame them. But I also would like to read the story. I'm talking about the Captain America Corps or Corpse, the Marine Corps, from back in 2011, written by Roger Stern, who is one of the mainstay dudes of Marvel from the 70s and 80s and 90s all the way up to today. And what this essentially is this is the Spider-Verse for Captain America. So somebody messing around with time plucks Steve Rogers out of his ice in, what would be 1962 or later. And then this person kind of like Sentry, or like that Avengers character I've talked to, a Voyager, who made everybody believe she was there in the beginning. Without him coming along, the Avengers don't stay together, and then America quickly turns into this fascist state ruled by the Ameribot. Do you remember that? Do you remember the Captain America run with the giant Captain America android? It was John Byrne run. You've seen the pictures.
I don't remember that at all. Wow, deep cut.
Yeah, it was right around the same time as the Captain. Remember the Captain America for President, like the sticker?
Yes, I remember that. Yep, I had that shirt for a long time.
It was that run. It was David, it was Grunwald and Mike Zeck, who I've met in the late Mark Grunwald, whose work I really admire. But yeah, this is, and so a Watcherisk like type character plucks 5 Captain Americas. First and foremost, obviously Steve from back in 1944, so before he got frozen. Current Captain America, which was Bucky Cap, not a character design Todd loves, but also American Dream, who came from the A2 universe, or the A Next, or that was the Avengers team in that, but I'm forgetting what the name of the imprint was. But it was, in the future, or in the alternate future, she was a female Captain America.
A Next, was it that was the team? A Next was the team. I can't remember the name of the universe it was in.
Yeah, exactly. We got John Walker as the U.S. agent, but when he pretty much first assumed the role, so kind of before he was with the West Coast Avengers, so really from the 80s. And then we get a Captain America from the year from the 24th century, 25th century. 25th century, who is highly, he's got an energy shield, which was not really a futuristic thing, because regular Cap had that at one point. He had that in the Avengers run that Perez did in late 90s. And they have to get to the bottom of it and kind of to crush evil. So it's just 5 issues, which thank God it's a complete story. I'm kind of bummed they never made any figures from this. I'd love to have a American Dream figure, or I'd love to have, a cool. I think he's called Commander C or something. I don't know.
Mr. C.
He's called Mr. C. Mr.
Yeah.
C and the women. But yeah, I thought it was. Let me see. Oh wait, I'm looking right at it. It's Commander A, which is a bad name for a character.
Commander A.
Commander Ass.
Hey.
Hey.
It's Fonzie.
Yeah,
Or Canadian.
Yeah.
A.
Yeah, A. So yeah, our 5 caps are Steve Rogers, James Barnes, John Walker's U.S. Agent, American Dream, which is Shannon Carter, so it's a relation, and then Commander A, who is Kiriyoshi Morales. So he's just very cool mix, and the Contemplator is the Watcher-like character that drives him through. But yeah. Yes, I'm thinking about it. But it's the Americops are the fastest soldiers in this present. And then the Ameridroid is Lyle Decker, which I'm like, do you give a big robot a name? Because he's like, 20 feet tall. But yeah, super cool story. I'd recommend it. And it is on Marvel Unlimited, or go to your local comic shop and ask for a trade paperback, which I'm sure there is one in existence. But yeah, I really dug it. I thought it was pretty cool.
Very good.
Speaking of murderous robots, we watched the first available episode of Murderbot, which we talked about recently on the program. This is a Skarsgård. Peter, is there a Peter Skarsgård? It's
not Stellan?
No, Stellan is he's the guy in Andor. He's the dad. So
okay, then it's not Alexander.
It's Alexander. Yeah, it's not Pennywise.
Okay.
Because that's
no.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't keep these Skarsgård straight.
Bill Skarsgård.
Bill. There you go. So yeah, this is set in the future where humanity has branched out in the stars and mining colonies, and this is kind of like your Expanse, kind of like, or like For All Mankind, and with Mars and stuff like that. And there are security droids, and in this case, this one has a face. He is a older unit, and he kind of has some murderous intentions, but he sits on them. But he gets sold into service to basically this group of like space hipsters who are going out to do mining and stuff. David Dalmatian is one of the characters.
Great.
And yeah, he reveals that he has a face, which usually he's in a mask. And he has to fight a big 2-headed space worm. And he's off to the races. So I thought it was kind of fun. And you and I were talking about this yesterday. It's 30 minutes. 30 minutes that's where you want to be. There's no fluff. You can watch it really easily. And it's if it's 8 or 10 episodes, it's harder to get behind, especially if it just comes out once a week. So
you can just watch it in one setting. You can eat lunch or something. Yep. It feels like you don't have to like commit to be on a couch or something. You can just
watch it on the fly. Watch it on your phone like Quibi.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
That's over on Apple TV Plus. So, all right. Well, that is the Geek Easy for us. The time for the main event has come. Watch my shirt. We're going to get super down in the land down under with Hologram Tina and the mutants once we get on this Air Qantas plane talking about Superman 1978. Let's do it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or game to be entertained. And this week, we are doing the summer of Superman. Superman has this big movie that's coming out very soon, and we wanted to talk about the history of Superman on the silver screen. No, we are not going to be doing the Fleischer animated films or shorts that were amazing. We're not going to be talking about the old Superman TV show or any of those things.
Or Smallville,
we are going to be
or Lois and Clark, yes,
or Superboy or any of those TVs. We are going to be talking about the iconic 1978 Superman as our first film. A little bit, though, behind the scenes about how did this movie actually happen? So one of the things you have to know about, how did DC Comics get to be owned by Warner Brothers? And Charlie, you'll like this.
Oh, tell me.
Apparently, DC Comics were purchased by a company called Kinney National. They were
definitely not a front.
Kinney National Company. Yeah, they believed they were a company that believed that Warner Brothers or that comics would be big. So when they bought DC Comics, this is where it got really weird. Kinney Company then 2 years later bought Warner Brothers.
Oh, so
I didn't know this.
Together.
Yeah,
Oh
because it was called Warner Brothers 7 Arts. It was just, and Warner Brothers was struggling at the time.
Right.
So this deal gave Kinney control over both DC Comics and Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Soon after, Kinney rebranded as Warner Communications. And then obviously we know that eventually Time bought Warner Brothers and merged.
More stay in the time. Jungle
so
Love.
That's how it all happened. Yeah. And then DC started doing things, or Warner Brothers started doing things with DC, including like Super Friends. So that's how we got it. But how we got the movie was really weird because they hadn't made any films yet. And this group of producers called the Salkinds, who apparently a husband and wife, he was the son of the guy who made the Three Musketeers movie in the 70s. So I remember that movie. It was fairly popular.
Yeah.
David Soul. That was a David Soul. No, it was the guy that played Felix in Austin Powers. What was his name?
Oh,
British guy.
Michael York.
Yes, Michael York was in that movie. It was very popular.
Basil Exposition.
Basil.
Movie,
Yes. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So basically, Salkins thought that comic books could be really cool, so he bought the rights to do a Superman film, and so he originally was going to have a British Englishman, Guy Hamilton, who directed Goldfinger and Diamonds Are Forever, to do the project, but he had taken ill. So then, out of the blue, Salkin calls Richard Donner on the toilet. I'm like, he had a toilet phone?
He
I don't know how that happens.
Hello, am I talking to Richard Donner's toilet? No?
And he basically said, do you know who I am? And he goes, no. He goes, well, my dad and I developed the Three Musketeers film. He goes, okay. So they were talking in March 1977, where they had already said that Marlon Brando would be in this film, and then Donner agreed that he would only take this on if he had to hire his own writer. Okay. So they did. They made this movie at Pinewood Studios, and Marlon Brando had been booked for 12 days of shooting.
I've got some notes on crossovers because of Pinewood. And I was going to say the Salkinds. One of Kurt is friends with one of them on Facebook. So that might be somebody that we can interview. I don't know. Todd, would you love to hear it from the Salkind point of view?
It's so weird. I know. Apparently, one of the scripts had like it was. I guess one of the scripts originally was. It's got a crazy history of script writing. Like Mario Puzo was involved.
That is what I was reminded of. He's the guy who did The Godfather. It's so.
I know. And he turned in a 500-page screenplay. And then another guy came and wrote some scripts. They had one at one time. Like, this is horrible. It sounds like Superman saw a bald guy in the street, thought it was Lex Luthor, picked him up, and turned around. It was Kojak, and he says, "Who loves you, baby?" I'm like, what? So there you go. So this is so funny. Oh my God. Gene Hackman had been paid $2 million to play Superman's arch nemesis Lex Luthor.
Right.
He got huge billing. And then Marlon Brando made $3.7 million.
Yeah, $4 million for 12 minutes of screen time. Yeah. Which was incredible.
And he got and he also got 11% of the domestic gross. Yeah. Oh my God.
It was a huge movie. And for all what a authentic wacko Brando was, his role is brilliant. He really really nails it. I mean, even in the silliness, I mean, so the movie. So let's get into the details of this film. So directed by Richard Donner, and they were planning to, I believe they were filming the films back to back. That was happening, which is kind of cool. A lot of controversy because the second one there was a disagreement and it was scrapped. I know I own the director's cut of that, but what got put out,
I finally saw it. I finally saw it
because the guy who put the theatrical version of the second one is directed by the same guy, Richard Lester, who did A Hard Day's Night with the Beatles, and it's parts of it are very ridiculous.
Yes. The screenplay. So there's 5 people in charge of the screenplay: Mario Puzo, David Newman, Leslie Newman, Robert Benton. Story by Mario Puzo.
Yeah.
And the great thing was we did get to see those great credits to Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster.
Right.
Produced by Pierre Spengler. $55 million budget for a $300 million
Oh my
worldwide take,
God.
which was huge. Obviously,
That is,
following
yeah.
Star Wars, which made I don't know how much that cost and how
Right.
much it made, but it was huge.
Right. Right.
And then the log line: an alien orphan is sent from the dying planet of Earth, where he grows up to become his adoptive home's first and greatest superhero, which is great.
Yep.
Some of the actors in this, Charlie, we know Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, Gene Hackman, Marlon Brando, Ned Beatty, Jackie Cooper,
Oh my
Glenn
God.
Ford, Trevor Howard,
Oh my God.
Jack O'Halloran, Valerie Perrine, Maria Schell, Terrence Stamp.
before
Anybody
his eyes.
else?
Sarah Douglas was the third person in the Zod gang.
Yep, that's right.
His mother Lara was Susanna York. She was very British in speaking to him and speaking to her husband, who again, Marlon Brando. He pulled off an accent that was not quite anything, but it was just iconic. And
Very.
Yeah.
Very refined, very
Yeah.
elevated for the time. Yeah.
He called
and-
Krypton Krypton. The planet
Yes.
of Krypton. And I do love Pa Kent is Glenn Ford. I was telling April this when we were watching it last night. Star of more Westerns than you can shake a stick at. Very famous
absolutely.
in that world.
Very
famous
iconic.
in
Yeah,
that world. Yeah.
I think he was also in. Was he in the Grapes of Wrath? Or I'm thinking of Henry Fonda. I think it was Henry
Yeah.
Fonda. Oh well, but still,
last one is Mark
Yep.
McClure, who is Jimmy Olsen, who was Martin McFly's brother in Back to the Future.
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Exactly.
So depending on, I watched this on Max. Charlie, where did you watch it?
I have I own a digital copy through Fandango, so I watched.
Okay,
it
so-
as well. Yep.
So Charlie and I were just talking about this because a lot of these films, they have multiple versions with more things in, more things
Right.
edited out. So on Max, I'm not sure which version I actually watch, which kind of sucks that you don't really know. It doesn't tell you. And
Yeah.
there's obviously no extras
Right.
in these movies typically on streaming either, which kind of sucks too, because
Yeah.
you know those extras are always fun on DVD. So this movie opens in a way I don't know if I've ever seen this opening before, because I think I saw this movie originally on TV, not in
Okay.
theaters, because of course I was
Yeah.
3 years old when this movie
Right.
came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's got this kid essentially reading the original comic from 1938. You get the screen opens like kind of like the
black
old
and white,
like
like an old
the
theater.
curtains
Yeah.
of the theater opens up, and that's your entry to this movie, and then it goes
Right.
to
These
directly to
beautiful credits. These the big.
how did they do that?
swooping-
Woo!
Yeah,
Woo!
and then it's a theme by John Williams, who of course gave us the most iconic movie music that will ever
God.
exist.
How many big years did he have? He had Jaws, Star Wars, then he had Superman.
Indiana Jones, then more Star Wars, then more Indiana
Yeah.
Jones, then Schindler's List, then Jurassic Park. Oh my God. Yeah. And he's still with us. He is in
I know. He's amazing.
He's in semi-retirement, but still comes back to do another Star Wars score at some point. But yeah, the beautiful credits and then the big S, just dun 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 dun. dun. Oh, just really
Amazing.
But I remarked to April, I said, God, the credits were so long, but it was like a 5-minute credit sequence. It's like, let's
Absolutely.
go.
And it was just funny who got top billing. And it was like,
Yeah.
when is Margot Kidder going to show up? Oh, there she is. Finally, she gets to show up.
She's down there.
Jackie Coogan. I'm like, why is Jackie Coogan getting
Yeah,
these?
right.
He was a little rascal. Oh,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Was
Yeah.
he? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yes, Jackie Cooper was one of the original
Oh my gosh.
little rascals. I can't remember who he was. But yeah, I mean, this movie opens up on Krypton, and Krypton is, what I give them credit for is, I don't know if we really got some really in the comics previously iconic visions of what
Right.
Krypton really looked like, but what they gave us, I feel like, is what everybody still remembers as Krypton looking like.
And it's very later in the film when Superman tosses the crystal in and it makes the Fortress of Solitude. That is just, it's very consistent with that look, which I assume one or both of them have basis in the comics, because they didn't just create it for this film, or it could be totally wrong. I know that Jor-El's look in the classic comics is that he kind of looks like Buck Rogers or like Dan Dare. He's got like the fancy helmet and the very colorful. Where in this, and you pointed it out in your notes, he is wearing this, and again, you have this weird like black light reflective where everybody's got the same outfit. So it looks like very Buck Rogers Man of the Future. Everybody's got the same outfit. It's white or tinfoil, and it has the symbol of their house. So everybody's a symbol.
It's And it's so luminescent. It's so like, wow, it's such a cool effect for at the time. I mean, when you look at it up close, though, you could kind of see the wrinkles. So I think it was like a tinfoil or something where they could apply a light effect to it.
Yeah. Kind of like the lightsabers in Star Wars, which were like rotoscoped or they did something like that. So, but the whole opening sequence, they and I said, April said, they tee you up for the sequel of this film like nobody's business because. Oh,
absolutely. Very brilliant.
He's in the High Council of Krypton is conducting a trial for these 3 war criminals. Zod is the head guy. He tried to overtake the planet, which is, of course, the basis of the Snyderverse as well, which I thought, to the credit in Man of Steel, I thought they did Krypton in that movie totally different, but really very well. But
it worked really well. Yeah,
I enjoyed this. Thought it was iconic. Obviously, they get stuck in. It was funny. I remember from Mad Magazine, they get stuck in the cover of an LP record that flies in from space and sucks them up, and then just keeps going.
Yeah, they don't call it anything, and the way it's really cool because it's like Krypton is essentially just a flat surface where everything is obviously. There's no environment that is survivable like Earth. So.
And they all live.
You're all living inside of a structure,
right?
And then there's a dome that kind of just peers out, and it opens up when they're sentenced. And we don't know what the hell is happening, but we see them when they see this thing coming at them, which is a plate of glass or a mirror. They're like, "Holy crap!"
It's a disco Coke mirror. That's what it must be.
Exactly. They don't call it the Phantom Zone or anything. They just
What's interesting is later on in the film, as you noticed, as young Kal-El is flying away, he goes past it. So it's Spence, and again, they do mention later in the film this all happened in 1948, or at least that's because. So which is funny. That would make Superman the same age as my mother, because my mother was born in 1948. So now he's 75, I guess. But anyway, yes, you do it's very like, kind of paint by numbers. Jor-El goes to the council. Hey, we're going to have this calamity. And they're all like, you're an idiot. Go home. And he knows it's going to happen. So he and his wife he's building.
Well, he tells them we won't leave.
Or so.
Which I'm like, why didn't you leave?
Well, maybe because apparently it was only his, and why did they care if he would leave? His only ability was to build this basically
very small pod,
top of the Christmas tree looking kind of thing, which they put the baby, a very cute baby, by the way, who's going, rah, 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 rah. And then, and in this, Jor-El gives this whole, his wife is like, why are you sending him to Earth? They suck. They're primitives. And she's like, he will, he'll be different, but their, environment will give him superpowers, yada, yada, yada. And he'll need them to survive and vice versa. So they have great timing because they start to launch it.
Oh God. Like literally, I don't know how much time has passed either. Cause it feels like we just talked to them and everything's going to help. So I'm like, even if he did warn them
in an afternoon, it was
could they have even done anything?
He was like, this thing is going to happen at about 8:00 Eastern. And it is currently, we're wrapping up the wrap day. It's like 5:15. So I'm going to go home and F you all.
Say nothing of this. Okay. Bye, baby. Yeah. And I laughed because Krypton is so pointy. Like everything there is so like shards and glass. I'm like, they're putting the baby in this thing, and I'm like, holy cow, this kid's gonna poke his eyeball out or something. So they don't believe in baby proofing anything.
And and I'm like, why is he naked? And I'm like, well, probably because if he's gonna grow, he would, if they wrapped him in something, he would grow out of anything. Yeah,
exactly.
So they launch him, and then we have a long sequence with the planet falling apart. And it's funny, this one guy, I'm looking at the credits, I think it's Harry Andrews, who's the second elder, is the guy who keeps looking around. He keeps looking around until a big thing falls on him, and they're falling off the side of stuff.
Oh my God. It's classic, like old school special effects where you've just got like foam things falling, people falling into, like lava, and I'm sure there was no Wilhelm scream, which is just sad.
Yeah, lava on the ice planet. So anyway, then obviously the thing is, the big star thing is launched. It goes through space, and he's getting this he's got a book on tape or a podcast. He's listening to his dad talk. Hey, so he's getting like Rosetta Stone as he's going. He's learning how to learn and stuff. And then eventually he crashes, and it's 1952 or whatever. So he's aged a few years while he's training, while he was traveling. But he crashes in a field in Kansas to this nice couple, the Kents, who take him in, and he ends up saving.
Well,
his dad.
Charlie, what happens when they see the baby for the first time?
The baby's naked, and it's a full frontal nudity of like a 3-year-old. So,
and why did they even do that? It was so weird. They could have cut up.
The
odd choice.
The English are very weird. Richard Donner's not English, so you would think as an American you'd be like, yeah, we really ought not do this. But yeah, fully naked baby didn't really need to have it. But yeah, he ends up immediately displaying his powers because Potkin is changing a tire and it collapses, and Clark catches it and he's holding it up and giving a big goofy grin. And then we flash forward to high school. Awkward time.
Yeah. It's all the rage. Those kids and their hot rods and doing the things. And Clark he's the what is it called? Like the manager, the equipment manager.
It's weird because this would be about, like I said, I can use my mom's age as a barometer. So this is like the middle 60s, and they're listening. It seems like it's middle 50s. So it looks
like it's Happy Days. Yeah, it looks like Happy Days. And then they're like. Oh, and it's so funny because the guy that is playing, Superboy, I guess this way. I mean, I guess he's 17 at the age because they're all driving, so he's probably 17 at this point, and it's just goofy because he's frustrated because he can't do anything, and he wants to go hang out with them, Charlie, but he can't because he was just done stacking helmets and they got knocked over. That'll take at least 2 minutes to fix.
Yeah, by the bully. And you can tell. And it was funny because those same two characters are revisited in Superman 3.
I forgot.
When he goes to his high school reunion, because it's the 80s or whatever. But yeah, that actor who's mentioned in the credits, but what is his name? Jeff East. His voice was overdubbed by Chris Reeve. Because
that's weird.
Unless he sounds exactly like Christopher Reeve, which I just don't think is the case.
I didn't even notice, to be honest. And it was so weird they would pick someone to play a teen version of him. They didn't even look that young, to be honest.
Yeah,
he was probably the same age as Christopher Reeve.
I'm sure of it. So like you had mentioned, Clark is running and he runs alongside a train. The extended version shows a little girl seeing him run and saying, "Mommy, a little man's running by the train," and it's young Lois Lane, which is weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but
I saw the scene. I just did it mention it was Lois? Did Mom say, Lois, be quiet?
I told you to stop doing that. Like the little girl who gets slapped later with the cat in the tree. Then the inevitable happens. He has a heart-to-heart with his dad, and then ironically, his dad's heart fails and he dies.
Like 2 seconds later, said, "Oh no!" Because Martha said, "Be careful about that tire, your heart." So we knew that was happening. You never mentioned something like that, and it doesn't come to fruition.
And so, you mentioned here in your notes, yes, he's being buried in a 12 by 12 fenced in cemetery in the middle of a field. But they filmed all of this.
Does nobody die in Smallville? Because
I guess not.
Literally there was 8 graves. I'm like,
well, what if it was like a family cemetery like they had on Yellowstone? Who knows? But I read they filmed a lot of the quote unquote wilderness stuff in Alberta, Canada, where a lot more stuff was filmed over in England. So they bounced around a little. And some was in New York because New York stood in for Metropolis.
They couldn't afford a big grave, cemetery.
I guess not. They just didn't have the budget for it. So as Clark discovers because a green crystal was calling to him. You mentioned why doesn't it hurt him? Maybe it wasn't really kryptonite; it was just green, and that's a coincidence. But he finds the green crystal, and then he has this nice goodbye with his mom, where he kind of pawns his mom off on the neighbor guy and says, and they have a very wonderful moment. She's like, "Always remember a son," and the music swells and they have a hug, and he says, "I'm going north." And I said, how come when he goes north, he doesn't just run? Because when you flash to him north, he's like walking along a glacier, and I'm like, pick up the pace, bro.
You can go faster than that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what drew him to go to Alaska? I assume it was tracking to say go there.
Okay. You never know exactly where it's at. It's like it's the Yukon or it's Antarctica or it's somewhere, but it's not in the ocean. It's on the ice where you can build. So what? Yeah. He gets to a point where the green crystal, he's inspired to toss it, and it creates the Fortress of Solitude. He goes inside. He moves the crystals around, and then there's a hologram of Marlon Brando saying, "I'm your dad," and blah, blah, blah. And he says, "Who am I? You're my son, and you're from Krypton," blah, blah, blah. And then what I get from this is that over 12, he is launched into time and space over a period of like 12 years. So if that was 66, now it's 78. So it's when the movie takes
I was
place.
wondering about that because because when I was watching it, they didn't mention anything about any time or anything.
But
so I thought, and then I'm like, all of a sudden I see him in his suit and he's like, he's Christopher Reeve now.
Exactly.
Like, what?
But they do mention at one point later on in the film that records show that Krypton exploded in 1948, which obviously astronomer. But then again, pieces of radioactive kryptonite traveled through 6 galaxies and then landed on Earth. It doesn't. We're going to let that go. But yeah, you're right. After 12 years, he appears, and now he's Superman, and he goes to New York City / Metropolis, and he's going to assume an identity of a regular dude who's a reporter so that he can
mild-mannered clerk and reporter by day.
And this is where we meet Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, Mark McClure as Jimmy Olsen, Jackie Cooper, the little rascal, as Perry White. So a lot of great, kind of iconic lines here. Clark is obviously very smitten with Lois from the get-go. He saves her from a robbery, which was kind of funny. I did love how the robber was wearing a sport coat.
I know it was such a formalized robbery.
Yes, exactly. and then subsequently, and then Superman saves. Oh no, that happens afterwards. So the very iconic thing is thing where Superman is brought to the world is when he saves Lois from a helicopter taking off of the top of the Daily Planet gone awry. It's flipping around and she falls and he catches her and then he catches the helicopter and now the world is Superman. And then big montage of him stopping other crimes, including saving Air Force One.
Greatest line ever.
Yeah.
He says, "I've got you. You've got me. Who's got you?" I love that line. She's so good at it. And just like, wow, I just love it. And this is like this relationship between, Lois Lane is truly like that, Katharine Hepburn, Tracy, what's his name? First name? Tracy.
Who was he?
They were in movies together. Katharine Hepburn and then Tracy.
Dick Tracy.
No, sure, Dick Tracy. But that you think of like the witty of the times, that dialogue between people.
Yeah.
This was kind of capturing some of that in the late 70s, of course.
Yeah.
A little different. There was no disco moments. This felt like a movie that was set that had a 50s feel.
There absolutely was a 1970s era pimp. As soon as Superman changes, he walks out and he says, "Say, Jim, one moment. That's one bad outfit." Really aged just perfectly, but it was a pimp standing with his employees in that moment.
I did love that. Yeah. And then one of the great things we got about this was we really got to see Superman do heroic things.
Fighting crime. Yeah. Stopping a jewel thief, stopping basically an armed robbery where the guy's got on a boat. He got a cat out of a tree and then caused a little girl to get slapped by her mother. I mean, he was really helping people out.
Yeah. Which we typically with Superman, it's always a rush. It's always, we never see him do his day job, which is just, taking on regular villains. And then we get a movie and it's typically the movie's always just like, this is what we're going to focus on. So nobody really gets to know what Superman does, his impact on others, things like that. So I hope we get more of that going forward. But I like that this kind of showed that he is building faith to these people that have never seen a superhero before.
Right.
So that what leads to of course, the Daily Planet is not getting any any stories about him. So we need a great story. Right. But what do we get? Lois gets an opportunity to interview Superman. Right. And this is a great scene.
It is. It's a great sequence. So she comes down. He shows up at her apartment and start doing the interview. And she's obviously smitten with him. She's smitten with her. And he's like, "Hey, let me take you to fly." And then they fly all over.
Well, before that, Charlie, though, it's like the all the questions Lois has.
Yeah.
Like, so you're human, right? And what does that mean? And like, are you going to ask him if, was he packing in his trousers?
Yeah. Well,
then can you see my...
he was not wearing a dance belt, that's for sure. So we saw what he was packing in his trousers.
And then he's then basically talks about some of his powers and
I love
the fact that
he reveals he can't see through lead, which kind of ends up being a problem later in the movie.
Absolutely. And then you get that great moment where she steps away from the lead planner that he can say to her, because she asks what color underwear am I wearing, and she says pink. And then she steps away from the lead and says pink, and it's like it's a very good banter, very fun.
Right.
It's just a great moment that makes Superman unique from other films.
Absolutely. So then he takes her for a flight. We get this absolutely terrible bit of poetry out of Lois, which I think we could have done without, where she's like,
"Can you hear me? My thoughts? Are you listening? I'm here for you if you need someone to love you."
It was reminding me of Dazzler, like from earlier in the episode.
Exactly.
But so then, we kick into high gear. We
need to talk about one thing else.
Okay.
How the hell does Lois Lane afford that apartment? Oh my God. That is $1 million apartment in 1978 that Lex Luthor says, you know how much apartments cost?
It was the 70s, and a newspaper. It was a huge newspaper. They had floors of different departments and stuff. And it's not like today where, journalists don't make any money at all. So yes, who knows? Maybe it was like Friends, and it was her grandmother's apartment, and she was paying like $95 a month.
Oh, the rent control department when she died, and I'm bequeathing you in this in my will.
You're right. Yeah. She had a penthouse apartment, which was totally crazy. So anyway,
the deck is bigger than most. That deck she had is bigger than like 3 New York apartments combined.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely correct. So anyway, we're now moving forward into the story. We've got a little bit about Lex Luthor here and there. And we start to kind of come into shape of what his scheme is. He learns about Superman. He learns from Lois's article that a rock from Krypton is dangerous to him. And so they steal it from a museum in Addis Ababa, which is funny. That gets a callback in one of the later Superman movies. And so he has this for his grand scheme. But as you mentioned, his scheme is he's going to steal 2 missiles from military convoys, one Navy and one Army. And this is when we get another great cameo. You got it in your notes. What is it?
Yes. So Larry Hagman was in this. He plays a major for the Army, and we know him as Major Nelson, an Air Force major in I Dream of Jeannie.
Exactly.
So
this was during the prime time when Dallas was coming on. So he was J.R. Ewing at this time.
Was it this had to be like right before. He must have filmed this before, because I'm not sure he would have taken such a small role. That was so weird.
I'm curious. Keep talking.
You look it up. But yeah, it's kind of creepy because Miss Tessemacher, gotta love her, she essentially Lex has a remote control car. This is the most technology I've seen it. Crashes it to stop the convoy. Miss Tessemacher is there. She looks like she's dead, and they try to bring her back. And Larry Hagman decides that he's going to
give her mouth to mouth.
Give her mouth to mouth, and she makes everybody turn around. So very creepy.
Quick sidebar. Yes. Dallas aired on CBS from April 2nd, 1978, almost exact same time. This always blows my mind. May 3rd of 1991. It was on for 14 years.
So he filmed this before Dallas premiered.
Correct.
So, he was kind of not getting great roles between I Dream of Jeannie ending and that sort of thing. He was probably in
decade. He
was probably taking roles on like Columbo and Love Boat. So but we get to this where then Lex, the best he can do with a henchman is Otis, played by Ned Beatty. He's a moron. He's ridiculous.
This was after Deliverance. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and he has to then program. Otis is able to then go underneath the missile, program the coordinates, and then get out of there. I'm like, that is the security the system has.
Thank you, United States.
And they're not going to check it. Yeah, and they're not going to check it again.
I mean, if that was the case, then a raccoon could be up there and be like flipping the digits. Yeah, it's not very smart. So he does manage to execute on that. And what this means is that when these 2 missiles launch, he's changed the coordinates of where they're going to go. And I will make a quick note. We had 2 Star Wars related cameos in the control room. Separately, no, they were together because one is the Army bird and the Navy bird. So one was the Army and one was the naval one. In the Navy control room, there was a scientist played by the actor who was Uncle Owen in Star Wars, and the guy running the board was John Ratzenberger, who was from Cheers and The Empire Strikes Back.
And Mr. Potato Head.
And yeah, I was going to say there's he was Mr. Potato Head. Yeah,
no,
Star Wars was.
No, he wasn't. No, that was it was Slinky Dog, right?
No, he was. Was he the dinosaur? No, I don't remember. We got a Toy Story problem.
We don't know because anyway. it was but I wanted to say, Charlie, they had to go and fix the code because, of course, Otis got it wrong. So what do they do? They've got a truck with a trailer, and they show up in trucker hats. I'm like, how is this Cowboys. A plan?
Yeah, exactly. But it works because they managed to ban. But it shows you how smart the military was back in the 70s. But anyway, so that's what is going to happen. But in between that actually launching, Superman finally finds Lex's underground hideout.
Well, because Lex transmits something directly to Superman, says basically, if you don't come and see me right now, I'm going to release all this gas. Apparently, they've somehow found a way to basically, dogs can hear it, and so you can use Superman. He goes to Lex's headquarters, which he drills down into because Lex's headquarters is actually in the off the subway below
station, basically.
Yeah, with the pool, which is just a basically put water in an area. So it's a very cool spot, just a little bit weird.
Right.
I don't know how he got Otis, and I don't know how he got Mrs. Tessemacher, but that's all you got, Lex. That's all you got. You're super genius.
Yeah, to fight Superman, exactly. So, but yeah, this is when Lex unveils his evil plan, and it's kind of funny because this is revisited again in the 2006 Superman Returns. It's a real estate scam. He's going to launch one of these missiles to hit the San Andreas Fault, causing an earthquake that destroys all of the West Coast and California as we know it.
Yeah.
And then he is then purchased all of this worthless desert from a Native American tribe, which Lois is out there talking to this Native American guy. He says, for the price this guy paid me, I hope the guy who bought it was Custer. I thought it was a great line.
Jimmy Olsen's taking pictures of Hoover Dam.
Yeah, exactly. Which is not in California. So it's very weird.
No.
But you're right. Nobody checked the nuclear codes. The other missile is going to Hackensack, New Jersey, but Superman is tricked into being exposed to kryptonite. Then Lex Luthor pushes him into the pool and says the other missile is going to New Jersey. And Miss Tessmacher says, my mom is in New Jersey. And Lex looks at his watch and says, no, not for long. And it's like he's a real dick, right? So she then rescues him, kisses him, and which is, why can't I get it on with the good guys? Oh, okay. And says, you have to rescue my mother, she says before she rescues him. So it's always, that's why she can't get it on with the good guys.
He makes a deal with the devil.
She's manipulative. So she does rescue, he does stop the East Coast missile and can't get to the West Coast in time for the missile to strike. And then we get this big sequence of things falling apart. He has to save people off the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. He has to save a train, and this is where you're because apparently in rural areas of California where the Amtrak runs, there's also goat farmers, which seems totally reasonable. I don't see why not.
Goat herders just under a bridge. I'm like, what are they even doing? Right. Charlie, I made a note here. It says Clark has magic suit absorbing powers. I'm not sure what that is. I can't remember what it was. Reference to
his suit dried right away because he flew out of the pool?
Maybe. I don't know. I can't remember.
It would have dried off. Yeah, they never really get into it with the suit because the suit has always been, it's cloth, but he has like a protective barrier around his body, and that's why.
Yes,
it's not like Spider-Man suit that he had to make with
But the biggest part is he's able to stop the missile in New York, in New Jersey first, and then he isn't able to save the one that hits the Andreas Fault. So he decides that how is he going to fix this? Going into the magma.
This is the weird. And again,
why?
Because he is going to repair it, which is weird. So I'm like, I don't know how. How did he come up with the plan? Like on spur of the minute, like, well, I'm going to fly underground, and he picks up the entirety of the San Andreas Fault and pushes it back into place,
lifts it back up,
and does he then melt it? There must be more to it. So
they didn't explain much, and then we find out the Hoover Dam it's going to hell, it's breaking loose, but there's one big switch apparently that just solves everything, and Superman grabs it.
And then he points to, is that man all right? And there's two guys carrying the third guy. He's fine, sir. I'm like, what? That seems, but it seems very random. But he cares about the little
Superman
guy.
always, that's like when Superman does a job interview. What's your greatest weakness? I care too much.
I care too much, exactly. This is a great, egregious example of all of the practical effects being model kits, because when the Hoover Dam collapses and it rolls over a town in this valley, it's what you would see in a train set. You see in your uncle's train set, It
was silly. Yeah. I love it. And then there's Superman decides to get boulders to go down to stop the flood from Hoover Dam.
Right.
And the boulders are so small. It's we are zooming in to say, oh, it stopped. It stopped the water. How lucky we are.
He stops everything with the exception of, we flash to Lois. She's listening to Supertramp on her car radio, which is awesome.
Yep. But cars ran out of gas because she couldn't get gas because the station went down.
And then she parks right over where it was great. Exactly where the crack stopped is where her car ran out of gas, and she falls into the earth. Her car gets pretty crunched up, and all the dirt comes in, and she suffocates just before Superman shows up, and he pulls the car out and tears the door off. And he has this moment that I've always really liked, because you can feel him feeling the pain of the fact that I couldn't save my dad. And then he's like, this is the only love I've ever found, even though they weren't really a couple, but whatever. And he just has a complete mental breakdown. And screams to the heavens and takes off flying. And he's flying through the clouds. This gave us the great meme, because you start hearing Marlo Brandon's voice and he does this. So any meme you ever hear where you see that,
the joke over your head. Clip. I've used that before with you, Charlie.
You absolutely have, and vice versa.
Yes.
Then it was funny. I was texting with Kurt this morning, and he said, Superman, he knew we were watching this. He said, Superman 1 holds up. And I said, yeah, but the ending is nonsense, but it's okay. What is Superman's big solution to saving Lois?
If you remember that great Cher song, if I could turn back time by flying around the earth backwards lots of times.
He's not, however, wearing that outfit that Cher wore. Which
no, thank God. We do not need a Superman thong.
It would have thrilled a lot of people, but I digress.
But he spins the earth back, which quite honestly, I would say Einstein would say that doesn't work, because time is not something you can just rewind by changing the revolution of the earth. And then he does it again, but then he goes back to Lois. So what did he do?
Yeah, you're right. I don't get it, because he does that. And so all the other stuff, like he stopped the quake, but then Jimmy runs up and she's alive, and Jimmy cockblocks him because they're about to have a kiss, and Jimmy walks up and he says, "Thanks for leaving me out in the middle of nowhere, Superman." Why would that have happened? Because the quake didn't happen.
Well, how did he stop the quake from happening though? Did he stop the nukes? Did he not go to Lex and get stopped?
There must have, but then there would be two Supermen, one who stopped the one on the East Coast, and then he turned back time and then stopped the one on the West Coast.
But we don't know what he did. But they didn't show us that.
They didn't.
That's the problem. They didn't show us anything. They showed him just going back to Lois.
And he shows up
and saying, "I got you."
Yeah, exactly. He says, "Don't bother. I think the car's dead."
Did he think he could, I can shave off 6 seconds?
Right.
I can do this.
But when he finds her, there's not even, she says, I'm so lost, because the dialogue makes it sound like everything still happened, but her car does not, the thing doesn't catch up with her, and the car doesn't fall. So
who ended up dying that he didn't save, because he had to do something to shave off time, Charlie?
Oh, you know what? Maybe he didn't go to San Francisco.
Did the train crash then?
The kids went into the drink.
Okay. Or Amtrak didn't make it, or the goat herders died. I don't know.
The train went off and hit the goat. So then he ends up the movie by grabbing, and I did like this bit. He grabs Luther and Otis, and he flies them into a prison yard that looks like, I love it how it's nighttime and the warden is sitting there in a suit doing his,
that's what he's always there.
Yep, it's like he looks like Bob Gunton in Shawshank Redemption. And I do like that Superman says, "Hey, I think that these men will be safe here until they get a speedy trial." I like that. Superman observing due process. but he did perform a citizen's arrest, which is a thing. Because he's not deputized to perform law enforcement.
No.
But he left them there, and he didn't say, lock them up. He said, we'll leave these guys here until they can get a speedy trial. And then he flies off into Earth and does some shots where he's smiling, and then that's the end of the movie.
Did it say Superman will return or no? I can't remember.
Now I can't remember. It's entirely possible. And
I thought there was,
and especially since, and we can talk about this in part 2, or I might not be with you next week because of Memorial Day. But you can do a little digging and find out kind of why Superman 2, why Richard Donner, like half of the footage is his and half of it is the Hard Day's Night guy. And it's not a healthy marriage. But yeah, that's the end of the movie. And the tagline of this film was very famously, "You will believe a man can fly."
They can fly.
Because while they did by today's standards, you'd be like, no. But at the time, totally fantastic. Really looked like
this is
really doing all the stuff.
This is what comic book movies are all based on.
Yeah.
There was nothing before this that was even like it. I mean, obviously we got spectacle from Star Wars. So we did get that. We had, Star Trek, obviously, because of their special effects and what they could do. But this was
no superheroes, no comic books that were.
And to be honest, we did not get another superhero film that really did much until Batman in 1989. Right. So this was how hard it was to pull off something like this.
Right.
Yeah. And especially with Superman, where you had all that continuity. And by the time, this came out, Superman was already 50 years old, which is crazy to think. Yeah. So, 40 years
40,
old.
Yeah.
Sorry.
38 to 78. And then it's funny you mentioned that, because then Batman 89, the next real break in comic book movies was probably X-Men in 2000 and then Spider-Man in 02. Yeah. And then now we're into the era where it's everywhere. But
Spider-Man, X-Men right around then. Yeah, we had that.
It took over 30 years for comic book movies to get into a groove where they could be successful on the big screen, which I think is crazy. So,
we joked about some of the goofy stuff, but ultimately, though, this movie really holds up. It's a fun snapshot in time if you realize the type of tone it's trying to set, where it's fun, the characters are well written,
and there's some great emotional moments,
absolutely,
with great acting performances by Brando. And Chris Reeve was a virtual nobody. I did see the doco about his life after his 1995 paralyzing accident, and he lived a very kind of tough life. Had a terrible relationship with his father and everything. I do remember, I'm going to bring Star Trek into it. He was he was friends with Jonathan Frakes, and Jonathan Frakes was with him. They were flying in a plane, and they were at a little airport, and Chris Reeve had to return a call while Frakes was sitting there having lunch that Reeves had gotten the role of Superman. So Riker and Superman together at the moment that happened.
Amazing. Yeah. And I would say my biggest problem was we never got to hear Perry White say Great Caesar's Ghost.
I know.
Huge missed opportunity.
He did finally do it when the role was played by Larry Fishburne. In the Snyderverse. But, we'll see. And our new Perry White is actor Wendell Pierce. Another African-American actor taking on the role. Hopefully he'll get his chance. But yeah, that is a wrap for talking about Superman 78. Todd, I might not be with you next week because of the Memorial Day holiday. We'll see what happens. So I may not get a chance to talk Superman 2 with you. But yeah, we're going to be doing this over the next several episodes, talking about the Superman movies. Not everyone. We are actually going to take on BVS in honor of our fallen comrade Bobby, because he loved it so much. Even if we didn't, we're still going to do our best, even though it's a film we've talked about on this show because it came out in 2016, but I want to pay honor to.
We may have to have Luke Laura on for that one, because he really likes the Snyder film. So I think it might be a good opportunity for him to give us some context rather than us just, ripping
it up.
Our own. Yeah. We may have to be a little bit more open-minded.
Reverent. Yeah, Charlie. Absolutely.
Yes.
With that, that's the show. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Todd, where do people find you out there?
They can find me on Threads at @TOxtra at Seek Fringe Unite, and Blue Skies at Todd Oxtra at Seek Fringe Unite. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Seek Fringe Unite. And now Apple Pay is open to the gods. So use that if you need to, but just to be careful, don't.
Always better to do it off of your website. That's what I always like.
Yes.
But you can find me on a lot of those same sources. I'm talking about Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky. I am at the C3, THECEE, THREE. I also love being on our Discord. That is where all the fun geek-related chats happen. We'd love to have you join us there. If you don't find us while searching, just drop a ping to Todd or myself. Send us an email over at secretfriendsunite@gmail.com for that, or for anything. If you want to tell us your thoughts about Superman 78, we'd love to hear them, and we would totally read that on the show if you do. But with that, thank you one more time for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring. To keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.